Good evening, sports card Wild West marketplace, hobbyists, collectors, venture hobbyists, friends, haters, whatever it is, man. Thank you very much for being here live tonight on Sports Cards Daily Live with Ziggy. Open mic night. It is Sunday night. Got a lot to talk about. We got a great guest already in the back. What's it called? Coming on in a few moments. But I want to thank everybody. I also want to do a mic check. How's my audio? How's video? Everything look okay? I'm on a crappy DSL line, and we've had storms in the area. So, hey, Ziggy. Not if they are all scouts. It's good to see some people, man. Good morning, Simon. I know you're out there across the pond there. Thank you for joining, guys. So, wow, man, this is awesome. It's really great to see you. Let me just give you a few quick thoughts. So first of all, really excited about today because I've got a friend joining the show tonight, a young collector, a guy that I met in the retail, chasing retail, and I'm going to share kind of his story, talk about his experience in the national night. And we're going to open up the mic. I'll drop the link in a little bit so other people can join as well. But I want to start by saying a little bit about what I did this weekend. So I mentioned last week on, I think, Thursday or Friday morning show that I was watching Bench Clear, and they did the video about the gentleman who's kind of burned out on the hobby, right, and some of the things he went through. And I told you guys, I think, that I went through my own kind of burnout as well back in January, February. Took a few months away from my channel and from the hobby, and came back because really this channel brought me back. The people brought me back. And the people, and I mean, friends, they're not just people. You guys aren't subscribers to me. You guys are friends to me. And I really mean that. It means so much to me. So my point is, what I did this week, and one thing I did is I went back through my Facebook Messenger, through Instagram Messenger, and reached out to friends I haven't spoken to in probably a year or more in the hobby, right? Hey, how are you doing? How has hobby craze been for you? What have you been up to, right? For example, I talked to a friend of mine, Pete. He does bargain box breaks. Pete's a great guy. I love his breaks. I love his personality. I love his honesty when he breaks. He's expecting his second child. Cheers, Pete. It's great to hear that, man. I've been watching Pete before he got married. I saw him get married. I saw his first child come. And I think back to, man, that is what makes me so happy about this hobby. It's those relationships. Another friend I reached out to this weekend and connected to, and I'm really excited, was a guy named Troy. Troy runs a break group. I believe he's in I forget what part of the country he's in, but I met him probably 3 or 4 years ago. It was back when we were chasing Aaron Judges and Cody Bellingers, and we did breaks. We used to do these, back in that day, it was like, you think you paid $10, you got 3 spots and a single box break of Optic. It was awesome, man. It was just awesome. But anyway, really was great reconnecting them. I hope to have Troy on the show in the future. I hope to have Pete on the show in the future. I've reached out to some other friends. And again, that all came back to me. I'll say it inspired me because of the Bench Clear team. Because again, but they reminded me, we always talk about this. We always say, oh, the people are the hobby. Well, it's not just the people, it's the relationship. It's not just the surface relationship. It's deeper, man. Troy and I, for example, we both went through a divorce at the same time, right? I remember talking to him 3 or 4 years ago. He was going through divorce with his wife and his kids. I was going through divorce with mine. I'm not going to share the details, but it felt great to have somebody that I could talk to about that. And I'll say this, it felt weird, but it felt easier to talk to somebody who I just knew in the hobby than it felt talking to my own family about it. And I think you guys can kind of relate, but there's some special bonds. And I just encourage you, if you have a relationship with somebody out there, nurture that, give it some water. Lots been going on in the world, check in on how they're doing, see how they're doing. Don't ask about their cards, ask how they're doing, man. I'm super, super excited. I also want to quickly address a quick question. I had somebody ask me about my channel and why I don't show my subscriber count on my channel. And I just want to share this. I'll explain this to you. There's 2 reasons why that's the case. Number one, about a year ago, I think it was October of last year, I kind of got tired of seeing my subscribe. I felt like I was a slave to my subscriber list, right? I was paying too much attention to my subscriber list and wasn't paying attention to what I was doing. And I turned it off. I turned it off because it made me just realize, you know what? I don't want you to subscribe to my channel because you see there's 10,000 people as a subscriber or there's only 50 people as my subscriber. I want you to subscribe because you're like, damn, that's good stuff. I want to hear this again. Now, I put content out almost every day. So sometimes, people don't have to subscribe. And I understand that. You don't have to subscribe to be a supporter. So to me, that helped me. And it's something I'll give the tip to other people. If you're getting in this hobby and you're starting to build content, turn off the subscriber. And it's hard to do, but turn it off. Don't let it drive what's going on in your life. It helped me. Another thing I'll mention, I moved to doing lives back in May. Another reason I like doing lives is because every time I made a video, I had to go into the studio and then upload the video, and I'd see the subscriber count. And sometimes it would influence me. Do I want to do this video, or should I edit this video? And I realized, you know what? I'm just going to go live. I'm going to go unedited, just unbiased, just be me. And it also means I don't have to see my subscriber count, right? I see my subscriber count on Saturdays, because on Saturdays I normally drop a video in, and that's when I see it. That's also when I kind of go in and talk comments and stuff. So I just want to share that with people. Say, hey, you keep up on the comments. Understand that for me, this channel means more to me than you understand. It's my portal to the world, right? Last thing I'll say, if you guys have been following the channel, and I haven't gotten the comment yet. I see a lot coming in. I really appreciate that. Man, 35 viewers. As you know, I've had some tiffs with some other. Well, I'll be honest. I've had some tiffs with Card Ladder. I don't get along with the Card Ladder guys, and I'm not going to go into that in this channel right now. It's not the topic of conversation. Although, hey, Chris, Josh, if you're out there, Jeremy, if you want to come in tonight, I'd be happy to have you come on my channel, and we can discuss this, and we can discuss these differences. But what I want to get to is last night I was on Jeremy's Sports Card Live. I was using my alias COVID Card Collector, and boy, I took a beating. I'll say by the end of that show, I got off thinking, man, these people are mean. They were calling me names. Said I was mentally challenged. I was a bad person in the hobby. But at the same time, I got a lot of messages from other people who said, Ziggy, I love what you're doing. Don't stop doing what you're doing. Be you. And it meant a lot. And another person pointed this out to me. I mentioned in my video I put today about this whole mindshare thing. Here's what somebody mentioned to me today. He goes, you know what, Ziggy? You can go anywhere you want to in the YouTube community, Instagram community, and contribute. I can ask questions. I get in chat. I'm appreciated. I might not be known, but people appreciate my questions. I treat people with respect. I always say I treat them the way I want to be treated, right? My foe, my counterpart, they can't do that. It's something I thought about. Like Chris and Josh can't go live on other people's shows. Think about this, because they know I'll show up and I'll make them flustered. Like if you watched last night, I had them squirming. So I'm just going to leave it at that. It makes me feel good. He's like, Ziggy, you can go anywhere. They can only go to Jeremy's show, and they can only go to their own show. We're on both platforms. I'm blocked. I'm blocked on Jeremy's show, and I'm blocked on the Card Ladder guy. So I thought that made me feel good today. Really, it just made me get, man, you're right, Ziggy. Just keep doing what you're doing. Have fun. Enjoy what you're doing. So super excited to see the people on the channel tonight, man. Really excited. This is awesome, guys. Listen, I'm going to bring Chase on in just a moment. And listen, here's something I want to tell you guys. I'm bringing Chase on because I wanted to share a story, but I also want you guys to support Chase. So don't give me subscribes or subs, whatever, but check out Chase's channel tonight. Give him a sub. And I'll tell you, too, to other people out there in the community, if you have a small channel, a big channel, I don't care what you are, you want to get the word out, that's what this open mic night is about. It's about me helping other people get stuff, about other people, about giving back to this community, right? I think that's the most important thing. And one last thing I want to quickly say before I check comments and then bring Chase on. Flipping Steve, if you're out there, man, I listened to you. I heard what you said this morning. You make sense, right? I agree with you. We have more in common with other people than we have against. And even my anger and my frustration with those that I won't mention again, I would love to resolve that. I'd love to bear it because I do believe there's a greater good. I do believe in the positivity of the hobby, and I'm going to keep doing that, man. So, guys, I cannot thank you enough for being here tonight and supporting me. Even the haters, right? Zaggy, if you're out there, man, feel free to come on in and say anything you want to, guys. It's just I'm in too good of a mood. No one can wreck that real quickly. Chase, hold on 1 minute. We're going to go ahead, and I'm going to quickly look through some of these comments. Woo! First, Mastradamus, great to see you. Larry, good. Your take point. They die first. Thank you. Hey, Ziggy, Raw and Cut Cards. Thanks for being here, man. Sports Card Anonymous. Love to see you, Dakota. Big fan, man. I really love your show. Loved how you share stuff on your channel. I was watching your video today, all the pickups, man. A big fan of what you're doing. Keep up what you're doing. Keep the hustle going, man. Good morning, Simon. Like I said, good to see you. DR, happy Sunday. Only a few more weeks into the Sunday night football games, and we're going to have to move the live when that happens. We have to push it up to 8 o'clock or something like that because I don't want to compete with the NFL. And let me just also say, DR, thank you because you inspired me. Don Quixote, man. Don Quixote. Sancho, bring my armor. Loved it, man. Living in LT. Love it, man. Good morning. Good day to you. Mastradamus, thumbs up. You know what? I also want to give a shout out to the Double Coverage guys. I know they're in Australia and they're probably asleep right now, but man, huge fan of those guys. I was on their show this morning. Let me just say too, I love promoting other people, right? If you're going to use market movers, I always tell you to sign up with the code BREAKOUT for the Breakout Card guys. Breakout Card guys are young guys doing some great stuff. They share information on vintage and how to spot fraud and fakes. So if you're going to use them, use that Breakout code. But if you're using StarStock, I want you to use the code Saucy Collectibles because I want to help my boy Saucy down under build his StarStock account. So again, if you're signed up for StarStock or you're new to StarStock, I'm going to drop the name Saucy Collectibles out there. Check him out, man. Ziggy, keep calling out clowns, and I'm with you, man. Thank you. And again, I want to focus on positive. I am, but I'm not gonna shy away from the bullshit. In fact, one thing I love about my channel, it's me. It's me. I don't care about sponsorships. I don't care about making money at the channel. I just care about being me and you and my friends, and that's it, man. That's it. Good to see you, Shane. Good to have you in the chat, man. Breakout. There's Breakout. There he is. What's up, Ziggy? So again, if you guys are using market movers or want to, and I love market movers, check it out. I would go with Breakout Card Sports. And you're giving these guys some money so they can fund all the great content they put. Ryan goes to sports card shows every weekend, man, and he helps people. He helps people. He gives back. And he's young. So you want to help the future of the hobby? Help Ryan. And I forget his other gentleman's name, helps him on that channel, but help those guys, man. Nats, hobby is not dead. No, it's not dead. Look, hobby's not dead. I think, I've said about this correction, we're correcting behavior and we're weeding out or shuffling off the dead skin, right? We're evolving. We're getting better, man. And I'm happy to be part of it. Better not put live chats on during football games. Exactly. I'm not going to do that. I will not do that. Thank you for the tip. Brandon, thanks for being here. Theodore, thanks for being here. Ziggy hasn't blocked me yet. Theodore, I won't block you. There's only a few people I've blocked, and that's for other reasons. Has nothing to do with sports cards, if that helps. Again, Josh is welcome here, man. You guys are welcome, man. Bryce Harper's on fire. He is. The Phillies are on fire. We need Trigger Finger. I think he'll probably stop by. Good for you, Ziggy. Hey, thank you, man. Thank you. I enjoy your content, my friend. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you very much. I like Ziggy. It's okay to question. You can. And challenge me, man. Challenge me. If I step out of line, I want you to call me out. If I'm in your chat or one of your lives and I do something rude, I want you to say, Ziggy, dude, what's up? You can say it publicly. You can reach out to me because I want to be responsive. I don't want to be a bad person. You know what I'm saying? I want to treat people the way I want to be treated. George Carlin of the hobby, accountability. I like that. Your delivery isn't PC to the haters, but none can deny you're honest and transparent. Man, thank you. It is not politically correct. Be yourself, Ziggy. Thank you, Chris C. Thanks for being here. Ziggy, people who can't take criticism are weak-minded to live on their own fantasy. I agree. I totally agree with you. Chris, let me see. George Carlin, one of the greats. I do love George Carlin, man. Very smart guy. I like your style, Ziggy. Let's move up a little faster. Yep, Theodore has talked about the hypocrisy in society. Those interviews by Jeremy are a joke. And again, let me just say this. As much as I have a difference of opinion with Jeremy, and it bothers me because I really think if Jeremy and I were to sit down and have a beer, we'd actually get along and he'd understand how I feel and I understand how he feels. And I will say, I do believe he brings great value to the hobby because he does some great interviews. He's inspired me in many ways. So it bothers me that we can't have that man-to-man conversation and work out our differences. So I'm not going to say, again, I'm disappointed with Jeremy, but I also know people change, right? I'm not going to hold this grudge against him forever. I hope that one day we are having a beer. And I mean that sincerely, Jeremy. If you're listening, I know you don't, but it bothers me that you just block me because it's me. You know what I'm saying? Jeremy is in charge of propaganda. Everybody's got their reason. And again, I think a lot of it is, I do recognize, look, a lot of people are trying to get their subscriber count and they do want to treat people well, so they'll come back. I understand that, right? That's why I'll say Jeremy's show is a conversation show. It's not a true interview show. All these people in this group are awesome. And I'll say, I'm not here to grill Chase tonight either. I want to have a conversation with Chase. What show was Ziggy on last night? I would like, listen, I was not on. I was not allowed to be on, but I'm referring to Sports Card Live by Jeremy. They had Chris and Josh on last night. I've had a beef with Chris and Josh. You can look at my videos to understand. It's a long bullshit story, but I'm blocked on that. So they talked a lot about me. It was funny. It's not worth watching, though. It's 2 hours, not worth watching. Call out all the fake people in the hobby. And again, it's not just calling them out. I'll say that people can change, man. People can change. Okay, I'll give you an example. There's a friend of mine that I have who years ago in the hobby, I'm talking like 5 or 6 years ago, did a little scam in the hobby. I don't know the details, but apparently sold something that wasn't right. He fixed that problem. He did fix it. He resolved it. But he did something he shouldn't have done. And he took a lot of heat for it. But he's been a good person to me, and I've stood up for him, and I support him because he's changed, okay? He didn't have a kid at the time. He wasn't married at the time, right? We all grow up. We all evolve. And I don't hold that against anybody, man. Everybody deserves second chances. I remember the time where we didn't have that much corruption in the hobby, and honestly, thank you. And again, it's just the hobby's the people, man. And unfortunately, people are people. commented under the assumed ID after hours of Jeremy. Yeah, he's using COVID card collector. And man, people were calling me out. Hey, Ziggy's COVID. And here's the funny thing I thought to myself, how did you know it was me? Was it my articulate questions? Because I wasn't a jerk. In fact, if you look at the chat, I was very nice. I made some very, very complimenting comments as well. And then I asked some critical questions that I later on got called out for. Thank you. Person who's Ziggy Yes is literally the biggest loser. Zaggy Yes. And it's funny, I've had Zaggy on. I thought I made a breakthrough with Zaggy. And there's another guy out there too. There's a couple of these guys, which again, it kind of inspires me because they use my little image and then they dressed it up. And anyway, fluffy interviews. Got it. What was that? Sasha T. Everyone's, yeah, I understand. Jay, sorry about this. Hold on a second. Where are we at? 16 minutes. Okay, no one puts Ziggy in a corner. Live in LT. Love that Ziggy keeps it real. Thank you very much. Shane, great minds think alike, my friend. Ziggy, tell us the 7 dirty words. I'm going to keep that out of this tonight. Talk about PSA. Don't talk bad about PSA or it gets the hose again. You know, it's brand. That's what I've realized. Grading has nothing to do with graders. It has to do with brand. Grading means nothing. You're either putting on Lucky Jeans or you're putting on Wranglers, right? Rendering part 4 now, National. Watch the recap. Dude, I love your videos, man. You put a lot of effort in those, a lot of energy. Steven is the other guy on the channel. Steven's a great guy. He's in college still. That's why he's not as active, I know, and that's why I support you guys. I got to move through this. Ziggy, love your subs. Subscriber here, thank you. Breakout, love his content. Great guy. And again, if you have a question, ask Breakout. Okay, I'm going to have to get through these comments because I want to move forward, and I don't mean to be rude. Do you think Peyton Manning is a better investment than Drew Brees? I don't know. That's up to you guys. I mean, did he cheat allegedly? What's this? Ziggy, you need a Clubhouse account. You know, I haven't gotten into that. I need to figure that out. Might need a football. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. I'm sorry. Battle Cat from He-Man. What is this? Ziggy, you jump on the Battle Cat from He-Man. Do you ever notice that investor, collector, dealer never, ever chats with other content creator? How many asks him? You know, actually, he has been on Personal Finance Stats channel. And I'm actually a friend of Chris's. Chris and I have reached out. I love Chris. I consider him like a friend. I've been a fan of him forever. He's been a great friend of mine. I remember last year he gave me a great shout out, helped my channel a lot. He's an inspiration, and I look up to him. The question you asked, give you away. Yeah, I guess that's probably what it was. Ziggy, do you think companies are still overprinting? Yep, I absolutely do. I do think they're overprinting. That's why I like Panini NFTs. I enjoy your take on things. Want to link to our later YouTube? Blah, 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 blah. Thank you very much. A man should be more to date than it is. I agree. And I also believe that we're evolved, rational, thinking human beings. We should all be able to resolve our differences in constructive debate or conversation. Chris did one of the Dustin Brads. Okay, I'm going to move forward here. Extreme Cards is real honest. I like the Extreme Cards guys. I've talked to them as well, kind of collaborated. They're always doing Friday nights, and it's kind of conflicts with me. Friday nights are challenging for me. Chris Sewell is awesome. Okay, I'm going to drop that, and we're going to pull in live. How are you doing tonight, Chase?
What's up, y'all?
Doing well,
Doing
man.
well.
Thanks for being here.
Do I sound good and everything?
You do. Sound a little rough. Maybe back up a little bit from the mic. Test it again. I'm getting a little delay. I don't know how you guys are. Everybody else okay? We're out in rural Virginia, you know. Rural Virginia, we got DSL lines. I don't know where you are, Chase, but I can hear you okay.
All right, yeah. You know, it's funny that you guys just brought up Chris Sewell. You know, someone was like, I wonder how many people have asked him to come on the shows. I've actually asked him myself. He told me to email him YouTube comment. I was like, oh, it'd be fun to have him on one of the podcasts that I've started off. He never responded when he told me that he would get back to me. So
yeah, I'll tell you, I know he's been extremely busy. I mean, I followed that guy when he had a couple hundred subscribers, and he has, in my opinion, some of the best content out there. And he's blown up to like 30,000. So I know he's been overwhelmed, but I am a huge fan, and I bet you he will follow up. He's in our local area. He's not right now. He lives in Netherlands.
Oh, yeah,
he's from this DC area. So, in fact, he was talking about getting together at Chantilly at one of the shows. So next time I hear from him, I'll recommend that the three of us catch up and get together. Because I'll tell you what, dude.
Yeah.
He would totally support you. He's been in the hobby since he's a kid. He loves the hustle. He understands, you know what I'm saying? And that's one of the reasons I wanted to have you on tonight, Chase. And let me quickly just introduce Chase in the sense that I met Chase when we were chasing retail. Gosh, probably about 6-8 months ago. And one thing I loved about Chase was one of the only guys who would tell me what was going on. The other guys were like, they wouldn't tell me anything. But Chase would text me and go, yeah, we're meeting over here, or this is where to go. Very, very friendly guy. And since then, we've become friends. You work at the local card store in the area, Collectible Kings, which I'm a big fan of. And since then, like I said, I just want to support you and your channel. I know you were just at the National. It's your first time, so that's why I wanted to have you on and share a little bit about the National. What were your thoughts, your perspectives? I'll turn it over to you.
All right, yeah. That's a funny comment. I sound like Wolfman Jack. Heck yeah. No. The National was an experience that was unlike any other. You see videos, because I've been in this for about 10 plus years. You see videos on YouTube and stuff like that about it, and just it looks amazing. And then you get there in person, it's overwhelming. It's amazing. It's one of the most amazing displays you'll ever see of sports cards. I mean, you'll see the Wagner T206, a bunch of mammals. It's pretty amazing, and exhausting, I have to say, because I helped out a buddy. He basically paid for like 80 to 90% of my trip or so.
That's
And
awesome.
I was helping him out. I got an early access dealer pass, which actually helped me to get a couple of cards I came to get. And you can see those cards on my YouTube channel. I've got a
So you
three-part
made that
vlog.
trade there, right? You traded your Trout, is that right? And you got something really nice for that.
I got a Jordan rookie sticker and a PSA 6.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was awesome. Because I know that's a PC move for you.
It is. It is. That's something that I probably, unless I get some stupid offer, it's going to be there for quite a while.
That's awesome, man.
So that was fun. I got part 1, 2, and 3 of the vlog up on my YouTube. You can go check that out right now. I've got a pickups video, and then I'll also have kind of a story video where I kind of talk about some of the great advice I've gotten. I got some great advice from a few content creators. I think one of the absolute kindest people I think I've ever met is Jimmy from Kentucky Basketball Cards. One of the absolute nicest people I've ever met.
Awesome, man.
And you know, some of these people, you see them on YouTube, and when you meet them in person, you really get a gauge for how they are in real life. Like, for example, Santiago Sports Cards, I know, is big now on YouTube. He wasn't necessarily a dick or anything, but he just wasn't what I thought he would be. He was nice, but at the same time, a lot of these guys seem like clout chasers. Like, instead of being more about the hobby, they seem like they're more into the popularity. And I'm not saying that he's not a good guy or whatever. Just it seemed like when a camera was around, he wasn't being him. And, you know, I kind of have my back and forth opinion on that. But, you know, as far as the drama goes out in the hobby, you know, at the National, honestly, I learned so many things about that. For example, people will try to scam you, and you know, I've seen that part of the game in dealing and on YouTube and stuff. Maybe you hear rumors and whatnot, but when you're seeing actual theft, attempted theft, people trying to get you over on a deal, like not like negotiating, like they'll walk away from the table as soon as the main dealer comes around, and the real dealer that you're helping realizes, oh crap, that price, you know, this is something from behind the table that we were nice to let you look at, and, you know, under the understanding that we're probably gonna have to update prices on that. And then the guy walks off all, you know, angry, even though he knew what the deal was. So people try to take advantage of you. That was the one thing that bothered me. But I also saw some amazing things. I saw little boys that are 5 and 6 years old, and, you know, you'd hook them up with a card or two and they'd walk away smiling. And it really warms your heart. And because you know that they're going to hold on to that card. Yep. Or even if they trade it away, it's, you know, something that they're going to build off of and they're really going to get into. So it was an experience like no other. Again, if you want more of an insight on that, it's on my YouTube channel. Feel free to subscribe. I mean, Ziggy's always over there with me. I'm going to have Ziggy on one of my podcasts soon. Love Ziggy. I think I've actually known him for 6 to 8 months. I think it's been about a year. You know, you've always been positive. I hate those people that are negative on here. There's no place for it. You know, if you have a difference of opinion, it's not worth having drama for over months' time. You know, just drop it. You know, and if it all ends, you know, in a negative way, just go your separate ways and don't talk to each other. I've been in a couple of those things where not necessarily there's beef or drama, but you just kind of walk away. You just kind of there's nothing that's gonna benefit the both parties by bickering. So it might be best just to walk away in some situations.
Let me ask you this, Chase. You're a young man, right? I think you're 21, correct?
Just turned 21.
That's right. What advice would you give to other, guys like yourself come in the hobby? Because you're right. There are some people, and when we talk about take advantage, what I mean by that is if you don't know anything and you came up to a booth and you saw something stickered at a high price and you didn't know how to check comps, they're going to take your money at a higher price, happily take it. And then they'll smile and go, hey, that idiot just spent more money than he should have for it. Where you have to kind of know, you have to check comps. And that's kind of funny when you think about this industry. If you're not educated, you put yourself at risk. Education is so important. So what would you recommend? Or what do you recommend to your friends who are in the hobby?
I would recommend the buddy system. We talk about the buddy system when you're going out, into a city after dark or something like that. Go to a show if you're not experienced with somebody who maybe is more experienced. And a lot of these places I've realized have either crap Wi-Fi or they get crap service inside. Yep. So you're kind of going off your gut unless you're willing to step away and maybe look around. Have that friend with you that is a little more experienced, and that can change the ball game quite a bit because he'll teach you how to negotiate. He'll teach you what's a good deal and what's not. I've learned really quick. While a lot of dealers, their stickers are high, it's not because they necessarily are trying to win you over, trying to get you. It's because they have so many cards that their pricing is behind. They have, if you have to price 1,000 cards, that the first card be priced. By the time they get through 1,000, it could be a couple months, and then that person sees that card and they're like, why is that so high? Well, I priced that thing in a month or two. Prices in this game change all the time. I was actually working to that. Ziggy mentioned I work for Collectible Kings. A guy came in, and I don't know if he was mad, kind of confused, or both, but he came in. He bought like a Shohei Ohtani rookie insert refractor. He looked at a Beckett, and it's a Beckett magazine, and it said $15. I kind of tried to hide, being rude, but I laughed. I was like, unless you're looking at like 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s commons, never, ever, ever use a Beckett. This is not 2003. Look on eBay, do your due diligence. And I showed him. I showed him the exact card. I think he bought it. He said he was $60. He was doing $50, $70, $80. I was like, you didn't. He was trying to make it sound like we screwed him over. I was like, no, no. We were actually under eBay.
In fact, I'll be honest. I continue. I mean, I use tools, but eBay is the comp. And I know people price because eBay's been going upward. But I also remember before the boom, when I used to be admin in a Facebook group, we would take the average of the three comps, and that's what you put the price at. So if it was at 110, 190, then you had to put the price at around 100, right? Because you'd also encourage you to sell the group. You're not paying fees. And then there was this whole movement. And I'll be honest, I'm in a Facebook right now where I'm an admin. I'm not the primary. And we stopped checking comps because it was too hard to keep track of comps. So we require you to coin it. We require you to put a price. You got to post a price. We don't allow phishing or just dropping offers. But you're right. The market has changed. And I do understand both sides of the story. But I love your buddy system example. That's a perfect, great tip for people out there. I think that's great.
Right.
Get a mentor. Get somebody who understands the hobby. Even if you both share the same knowledge, it gives you somebody who can walk outside and check comps or something like that, who can give you, a second opinion or second thoughts. I'd also say there's a great community as you build out YouTube, man. Guys like Ryan at Breakout Cards, right? That will help you. That would give you advice. So Flipping Steve's another one. I saw another great guy who would give you advice.
Mm-hmm. Let me give you another piece of advice here that actually comes from my dad. It's a long. All right, it's gonna be a two-parter here. Don't just jump into the hobby on a buying frenzy. Like, if you're new, do your research, learn the sport, learn the GOATs, learn who is overrated. Someone I looked up to when I was growing up was Derek Jeter. It turns out he's one of the most overrated players by stats out there, and by statistics. And something that what I was going to bring in is my dad taught me this. And I don't know why this quote just popped in my head. I don't know if this is actually a quote from Abraham Lincoln or if this is something my dad said, but it was something along the lines of Abraham Lincoln said, if he was chopping wood. He would spend 90%, and he only had an hour to do it. He would spend 90% of his time, getting his axe ready, or, what do you call it? The blade or whatever, sharpening the blade.
Sharpening the blade.
And then he would only spend 10 minutes of it, actually chopping the wood, instead of spend that whole hour with backbreaking work. So basically what I'm saying is do your due diligence, and it makes it so much easier to do the actual job. If you're getting where I'm going at, basically
it
saying,
makes a lot
don't
of
just
sense.
hop in. So
you're absolutely right. People run out there and
diligence.
they just want to go chop wood. And your point is to clear the place, make sure you have a good place to chop the wood, get a sharp axe, prepare yourself, and then you're more efficient. It's a great analogy, actually. I love that, man.
Yeah, it's, in this hobby, you can lose money so fast, and you can probably see some video. I actually watched one about a month ago. It was well edited and everything. It was like how I lost like 50 grand doing breaks in sports. Basically, this guy had like addiction as soon as he got in, and he couldn't get out, and it almost led to like a divorce and stuff. Speaking of that, I get into some hot topics on that. Some people losing their wives and stuff over this hobby. There's a healthy part to the hobby, and then there's obsession and stuff like that. I'm going to throw out a hot topic on a hot mic here. Something that's always bothered me, it's bothered me for like a year now, is Jab's family. Why?
I've heard this. Yep.
His wife left him over cards because he kept on ignoring it in her. And he kept the video up for like a day or two, and then put it on as like Patreon only for his paid members to look at. And I like his videos to an extent, even though and he's like the third biggest YouTuber. But now, like, my best friends has told me, like, you'll see him, or he'll be on a live stream breaking or something like that, and his new girlfriend, who popped up only a few months later and has been there since, like, you'll hear them literally making out that. There's gotta be professionalism, man. Like, you're making yourself look like so much of a fool, and this is supposed to be like a kid's channel, and kids watch this. Like, that really bothered me. And back to the main point of wives and stuff leaving. If it's between you and Carl, or your significant other and Carl, it's not right. Take a break. This hobby will be there tomorrow.
I agree.
My girlfriend, myself, is actually, giving me a couple checks like, hey, man, you've been working hard and, all this, but you haven't really been spending any time with me. So what do? I put on the card and go spend some time with her.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
And you're a young man. You should definitely spend a lot of time with her.
Yes. No.
Those are some great days. You're making memories that will last a lifetime.
Heck yeah. And you know what? That's another thing with Chicago and the National. I was the most I've ever taken in my entire life. I've never been out of the time zone. I've never flown. Did both.
Wow.
And it was the most amazing experience of my life. Going downtown Chicago, seeing all the cars I've always dreamt of seeing. One of the best experiences I've ever had. And I had turned 21 the day before, so my first bar drink was in downtown Chicago. You can't make that stuff up, man.
That is awesome.
Give me that drink in your hand, Ziggy.
I'm actually just drinking water, but it's funny. What I'm thinking here is that you're a young man, but 20 years from now, 30 years from now, when you have children, you're going to remember the National. You remember your first Michael Jordan. You're going to remember your first drink. And it's those things that are more important than all the damn cards you'll have between here and 30 years from now, right? It's those memories you're going to make, the friendships you'll make, the connections you'll make, right? With those people that, hey, next time you're in Chicago or next time you're in a city and you know one of these guys, hey, can I come over and hang out? Can I crash here? That is priceless, man. And that's what I applaud you for, and I encourage people to invest in, man. Invest in the people.
Yep. Atlantic City 2022, hashtag Ziggy needs to go.
I plan to go, man. I plan to go.
You plan to go? Heck yeah.
I'll tell you, it's
awesome,
funny,
man.
One of the reasons I did not go were my children had no interest in going. My sons were like, no, Dad, I don't want to go. They'd rather do other things. I also had my oldest son was in a basketball tournament, which I'm very proud to say he won. It was a national tournament in Las Vegas. And I'll just brag here, he's 13. He was on a U15 team coming off the bench, but they went undefeated and won the championship. So those things were going on in my life. But I did talk to my son, and I was showing him, here's what I explained. Here's why we're going to go next year. I was talking to Michael Hamm, and Michael Hamm was talking to all the free stuff the kids were getting. I'm like, come on, Roman, Chase. My youngest son is Chase. I'm like, you guys have to go next year because you guys can get all this free stuff. So I will be bringing my kids out.
Free stuff.
I will be pimping my little kids out, not for me, but for them. I want them to enjoy that. I think they'll enjoy that, and I think they'll get them back into the hobby. Although I will say my middle son tonight called me Roman, and he just sold his PSA 10 Luca on eBay, which, you know, kind of broke my heart, but he wanted to do it. He wanted the money. I understand it's a lot of money for an 11-year-old too, man. He's going to have a fat bank account. But he did sell the card. So I'll have to re-inspire him by next year. But yeah, Atlantic City, I plan to be there. It's on my calendar, man. And hopefully we can go up together, man, or you drive up together. And I know we're seeing a lot of other people up there. Heck
yeah, man. I mean, I think, you know, this community, you know, here I've kind of gotten a little more, it's on and off because I'm a college student. So it comes in spurts. Like over the summer, I can upload more, and over breaks, I can upload more. But, you know, with that being said, when college is going on, you're busy. But it's always something to come back to. It's always a community that's always there for you, which I love. And those people that spread negativity, you'll notice that their channels will stagnate. And channels like this one and mine will continue to see a steady growth, you know, and spread that positivity and those exciting videos and exciting new ideas that can fall through. You know, this community, since I was 11 years old, I always wanted to get involved. And once I turned around 17, 18, I actually started getting a little more involved. And this has been amazing. You know, I don't think I'll ever get, I mean, of course, everybody goes through their hiatuses, whether you're getting married or you got to move or something, or you have kids, you know, of course you have to take that hiatus from the hobby, but it's always going to be there when you come back. And that's what people that are always like thinking that this guy's going to come falling down on the market. That's not how it works. You know, I don't think Michael Jordan's going to go out with ankle injury tomorrow. I don't think Babe Ruth is going to, you know, I don't think Babe Ruth is going to get his head chopped off tomorrow. You know, like the hobby's not going anywhere. And it's, I think the national, is the most excitement I've ever seen. And say, oh, it's probably just 40-year-olds with 50 grand to blow. No, I mean, yeah, there were a few, but no, it was a lot of little kids and kids my age, probably 15 to 18 to 20 to 25, that were genuinely interested in the hobby. And I was like, wow, you know, like, this is a really good thing. Because back when I was like getting into it, 11, 12 years old, there was only like one or two kids that lived near me that I knew gave a, you know, two hoots about sports cards. Now I'm seeing like a bunch of people my age getting either into it, or I had no idea that they even liked it. And it's kind of opened my eyes, and I'm like, cards in the 90s used to be a commodity and something people love. You know, it was cool to collect cards and trade and whatnot. And then in the early 2000s, after the fallout, you know, it kind of died. And not many people really cared. Now it's kind of cool again. But the thing that I think is working on Panini and Topps and just the hobby's behalf is, you're not just looking for a singular Ken Griffey Jr. rookie card from one of three products. You're actually going after autos that he personally touched and signed, relics that were used in a game, a parallel that's serial numbered to 50, and you're only 50 in the world, and you can collect those, and it's super hard to get, and it makes a card more valuable, and you can show that off or keep it or flip it maybe if he starts performing well, you know.
Well, it's funny. The one thing I realized, what we have in the modern time right now is we have liquidity, right? Back in the 90s when I was a kid, we didn't have that. In fact, I kind of give the analogy, it's kind of like Top Shot when you couldn't cash out. You might have had a card or an image worth a lot of money, but you couldn't do anything with it, right? Like I remember I had Jose Canseco and Don Mattingly, but I couldn't sell them. And if I had to sell them, I was going to lose money. I wasn't going to even get the Beckett market value. So today the market is strong because of the liquidity. And I think that's also, it changes. Like, kids don't always collect just for collecting now. They do collect for money. Like my son's interested in money. Hey, that's a real interest. That's not a bad thing, right? But he's interested in money. I also know this. You mentioned all the kids that were there. Here's something. If next year the numbers drop and there's only half as many people and you don't see as many kids, don't worry. Because for a kid, you've planted a seed in his mind that he might grow 10, 15 years from now of, hey, I remember when I was 12 and I went to the National with my dad, man, I like cards again. And that's what I think is so important about this hobby. You don't have to get kids in it forever. Just expose people in a positive way to something they can have fun in, and they can nurture that, or they can put it away and bring it back. Like you said, you can step away, you can come back. And again, that's one of the things I just love about this hobby. It's like it's there. It's a comfort zone. It's a place you can go. And I'll say too, I know I was saying to a friend of mine, this hobby is actually, I'll be honest, I used to be a degenerate gambler, not completely degenerate, but I was a gambler. And the hobby kind of pulled me out of that, because I used to go play poker or blackjack, and I'd walk away some nights with a big stack and some nights with nothing. And then I started getting into the cards. I'm like, I always walked away with something, and that made me feel better, you know? So since then, you know, I'll say I've enjoyed the people, and it's helped. You know, there was a quote out there that someone said I have an obsessive compulsive behavior. I can see that. I'm not going to disagree with that.
I think any card person has a little bit, at least, because you always want that PSA 10. If you don't have OCD to even the smallest extent, that's actually kind of, I almost want to say it's a little bit of a bad thing. I mean, because you get a card and has a ding on it and you shrug it off, and
well, look, I look at it as a superpower, right? Some people say you're a little OCD. It's a superpower I have, man. You know, I can keep focused on certain things. I do get compulsive or focused on stuff, right? I want to see it to completion. Sometimes I know I need to focus that energy on other things, but again, life is great. We all change. We're all evolving. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to drop the link in the chat. We've got 50 people, man, which I think breaks my record tonight. If anybody would like to come in and join us, would love to. Again, it's open mic night, and I mean that. I'd love to have anybody out there.
Yeah, drop some questions, guys. Before I get out of here, drop some questions.
Be happy to interact with the chat. I see some people talking about different cards, what they're buying and selling, talking about PSA reports. Let me see what other if I can find any questions here. I saw a question about Wander Franco. I'm not really a baseball guy. I heard some positive things about him, though.
Wander Franco is just in a bad market. Kid's got talent. He's going to be an all-star. He's going to be a fruitful player. But Tampa Bay, I mean, yeah, the Bucks are okay, but like the Rays are a team that's looking at being relocated right now. And it's already not been a good team besides when he was in the minors just for the hype train.
Yep.
His cards are too high to buy right now. That's my thing. His cards are too high to buy. He's already reached his peak, and I mean, he's passed even some, not a bunch, but some Mike Trout levels. And when you're passing that and you haven't done anything yet, that's when it's time to hold off a little bit and watch the market, on market movers, watch that come down a little bit. Yeah, I love market movers too.
I do think that I think he will likely drop. And what I like about, like you said with the Rays, he's likely going to be traded. He's not going to spend his career at the Rays.
Larry, let me make a comment. Larry, great stats will overcome a bad market. My one thing about that is unless he becomes Ted Williams and hits 400 and has Babe Ruth stats, his cards are never going to match the prices they're at. They're over Mike Trout, who's a multi-time MVP. Yeah, he's in first place, but again, the market, the stats, I mean, Franco's doing okay right now. I think he's hitting like 250. Trout's a consistent 290 to 300 hitter, hitting buttloads of home runs. So it's just, you kind of, if you're looking at it as an investor, wait to buy. Wait till that moment comes when it's off season. Look what it took for Fly to be noticed. Yep. Absolutely.
What do you think about Jason Dominguez?
That's a tough one, man. Keep waiting.
Okay.
Not yet on the buying. Not yet.
Because what I like about him is he's got the Yankees organization behind him.
That's
and I'm
a great
not going
market.
The Rays. The Rays. Like I said, the Rays are likely going to trade Wander. They seem to do that. They'll use him for a few years, and they're a good team. Like you said, they're number one in their division right now. But I don't see him staying there long, and that would be something I think is an opportunity, right? Because I think in an off season he might dip, you pick him up, but if he goes to something like the Angels, the Dodgers, the Yankees, a big market, he could have a long career. And that's the thing in baseball, you could be there for 10, 15 years.
Right. And for Dominguez, I like him, but he's hitting I think I looked today. I actually do think I looked today. I think he's hitting like 239. The kid's going to take a couple years you're not going to tell me that the market's going to stay hot on him for a couple of years. For example, Royce Lewis in 2017 drafted first overall. He looked at the bigs, but his market was kaboom everywhere. Everybody's hype. And then it calmed down. He's like 24 right now. He's out with an ACL injury. He was first overall pick. And now I know Dominguez wasn't a first overall pick, but he was the number one paid Dominican prospect out there. He got a major payday. So it's going to be a few years. There will be buying opportunities. Don't hop on the hype train every time that some big influencer pops on a screen with a, Roman first PSA 10. Don't fall for that. I'm not saying don't fall for that. I'm saying be smart about that. And
What do you think
there's
about
sometimes
Jordan?
that they throw that out there. Jordan,
Yeah.
super underrated in the market.
I saw
a million
on Bench
times.
Clear,
Yes.
I think Bench Clear is pointing out his PSA flagship 10 is selling for less than $30. I could be wrong on that, but I think he was one of those people that you're
Probably
like,
right.
what? Why is
It's
he so
probably
low?
right.
I mean, because
It's
the
because of
grading
the
cost.
Astros. It's because of the Astros cheating nostalgia that's connected to the team. He wasn't. I think he was either a part of it in the tail end or maybe not at all. But people just attach it's going to be probably another 5 years before the Astros market just comes back up, unless it's like a brand new rookie. I mean, even Kyle Tucker, he's been doing okay. I mean, good enough for his market to come up a little bit, but it just won't for a while, at least to enough to where it's going to, affect, everyone involved, because there's that nostalgia of cheating, and nobody likes a cheater. Why do you think Aaron stuff doesn't blow up and go crazy, and Jose Canseco and all that? Well, Jose Canseco is kind of a weirdo, but
He
other
is,
than
but
that,
maybe he was too honest, right? Again,
right.
I remember him back in the day. He was one of my heroes because I remember. I think Cage reminded me of this on Luca's Tigers and Bronze. He was dating, I think, Madonna at the time. I mean, he was like a stud. Everybody, when I was a kid, you wanted to be Jose Canseco or Mark McGwire, the Bash brothers, and those guys just rock. Quick question here about, I don't know if you saw this on Brian Gray quote last night. He was talking about millions of cars being printed. I think Brian Gray is really insightful. I like what he says. He's very bullish on the hobby, but I'm not surprised by that. I thought he was also pretty honest on talking about how small the global market is. I think somebody said there's millions of sports card collectors, and he's like, come on, think about this. No one in Africa is buying sports cards. This is a first world collectible. It's not something the whole world is collecting yet.
Another thing that I see that could explode in the next 5 to 10 years is like, how people kind of poo-poo on F1 and soccer.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, baseball is kind of a Dominican, American, Canadian, Japan market. Soccer is everywhere.
Yeah.
Imagine if the masses around the world, like, that don't really touch cards for the most part, imagine if they're touching soccer cards and stuff. Can you imagine how much a Messi an Mbappe Prism will blow up if the global market even gets involved 5% more?
Well, again, what I caution people, though, the reason soccer is such a popular global sport is because the sport that can be played in the poorest parts of the country. Like there's running, true. And then there's soccer, right? I mean, true. You don't need anything but a field and a ball. So I'm cautious on soccer. I am optimistic because I do like there's some soccer money.
I do see that.
And I think one of the things here's why I don't think soccer's taken off yet is Americans are still trying to wrap our mind around soccer, about how they have these different leagues and the one leagues come together for the major league and they have these different competitions. I mean, I'll be honest, I'm still wrapping my head around it. I'm following it now, but it wasn't easy for me to understand. Like, I still don't understand why the MLS cards aren't valuable. But as people point out, it's like they're kind of like the high school teams, to the global market.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. In F1, I grew a huge appreciation. There's a I know people been pushing that, and a lot of people are like, ha, no way. Go on Netflix if you can and look up the show Drive to Survive, and it is an amazing show, and it'll make you respect F1 so much more.
Netflix, right? Netflix?
Mm-hmm. Yep. It is amazing. I love that show. It's insane. Why is
F1 more popular than NASCAR? Is it because it's global?
Right, one, yeah, that's one. Two, it's kind of more condensed. NASCAR's got like 20 different series, and there's only like one main one for F1. Yeah, there's F2, which is like the minor leagues of F1 guys usually. But just watching the show made me appreciate it so much more. Like, you learn what these guys go through. They're not just driving out there, and I mean, they gotta have skill, amazing focus. They have to know the car inside and out. They have to be in really good physical shape. You can't be just 280 pounds and walking out in the car and sweating your butt off.
Correct me if I'm wrong. You actually have to drive on the road, right? Like, it's not just driving a circle like NASCAR is, correct?
No,
like
you actually have to go left, right.
Right, yeah.
Around,
so there's,
you're not just taking a left, then another left, then another left, straight.
Are there Formula One races in the United or in North America? I thought there was only one in Montreal years ago. Are there any Formula One races in North America, U.S.? Does anybody know?
Is there any F1 races in the U.S.?
Yeah.
Yes, Dallas has one at the very, I think, end of the season. I know there's one, I believe, in Mexico. Okay. So it does come around. It's once a year, and there's a track for that. They start out in like Santa Monica or something like that, and they go to a lot of the rich places, and it's a lot of the rich crowd, which I think kind of might drive away a little bit on some people, as they're like, well, I can't grow up and be a F1 driver. I think they make right turns in F1. Yeah, they do. They make rights, they make lefts, they make spinnies and everything else, and they go insane speed. Those cars are pretty amazing, and obviously you got some pretty amazing drivers out there. It takes honestly something that I kind of get, and I think I saw something maybe. I think awesome. Natsman said they also picked. Yeah, my thing is NASCAR. It's like, yeah, in F1, I have seen some families that have the money get their kids to drive, but for the most part, you have to have talent to make your way up and have someone see your talent to get in F1. In NASCAR, you got a rich family or a sponsor, and you're a small town track to put enough money to get you in a NASCAR, and you have, the remotely enough talent to drive around the track at a certain speed. You'll get in on the circuit. You just got to have some sponsors and some money. For F1, you have to have major sponsors, a really good driver, a really good team that isn't just just 10 people. It's hundreds of people working on the car and making you faster and making your investment worthwhile. F1 is, I think it's a super cool sport. Will it ever blow up to the point of like a soccer? I don't think so. But I do think that it should be respected, because I know some people laugh on it.
I have two quick questions for myself. Wasn't there a guy who did the video game and then he switched over to racing? Was that F1? Remember there was some kid who was like he did professional.
Do what you're talking about, just don't know for sure. Someone in the comments.
I know if anybody knows that, because I remember there was a young man who used to do racing games, and then he was able to cross over into professional racing. It was not NASCAR. Another thing I loved, and this is funny, I think going to a NASCAR event is one of the best events you can go to in the world. Like, it's like a big Jimmy Buffett God, the people are so nice. I mean, and it's not even the race. The parties that went on around the freaking event were crazy. And the women, let me just tell you, I think NASCAR has the most beautiful women, and this probably sounds terrible, than any sport I've ever been to. So I'm wondering, is Formula One like that? Do they have the same community where there's these big parties and people are hanging out?
I mean, based off the show, it looks like it. It looks like just a millionaire boys club party all around, just liquor flowing and everything. Miami,
I need to go to an F1 event. So I will say I'll follow up with the guys who are dropping some of these locations. I would love to go to an F1 race because, like I said, I enjoyed NASCAR, and I didn't think I would. And I'll be honest, I don't watch NASCAR on TV. I don't follow NASCAR. But if you said, hey, Ziggy, you want to go to NASCAR down in Richmond? Heck yeah, I'd go. It's freaking awesome. It was a great time. The people were just – it was, like I said, it was like a big Jimmy Buffett concert to me.
Mm-hmm. Well, that sounds like an amazing time. Just my thing with NASCAR is never, like, they always say how popular it is, but the stands never look full. They never do. And I mean, besides maybe the first few laps, the last few laps of the race, kind of like –
I think that's because all the fans are outside getting drunk. Because, like I said, when I went to this NASCAR, the first one I went to, we spent more time outside than we did inside. Right. Part of it was, like, I remember you could get the little headsets and listen into the group, which was cool. But when you're in the stadium, it's loud and you smell the rubber. So you go in, you sit down for a while, you cheer and you watch, and then you go out and you drink and party. And I will just say I had a great time. I really enjoyed NASCAR. I hope it's so. We got here Miami Grand Prix 2022.
Gotcha.
That would be a fun place to go.
That would be cool. I mean, besides homelessness, that'd be pretty great.
That's going to attract some beautiful spectators too.
All right, Ziggy, let's get out there and get working.
I'm thinking about everybody
get
else.
A little shave in there, get a little hair job going on.
I know your girlfriend's probably listening. I would never encourage you to do anything bad. So what's this question? What's up with Trout's calf injury? Way too long for rehab. I'm starting to think he's Achilles tear. I don't know about that.
You know, I've actually been thinking that as well, Will. I have been thinking that as well because but I also have the other end of thinking. You've got how much money in on a guy? You're not going to rush him back. You've got so much invested in a guy. You're not going to rush him back and make it 2 times worse. It's kind of like if you watch The Last Dance, Jordan came back and they literally limited it. Like, I think it was like 86, 85, somewhere in there. He came back off of an ankle injury, first injury in his career. And they said, you're only playing 7 minutes for like the next month. And then until they hit the playoffs, they didn't let him play anymore. It was like 7 minutes and a half, I think. Because they weren't going to let their investment just because if he would have gotten injured again, it would have been career ending. They had money in on him and hope for him. So, yeah, you know, Vegas has 2 races a year.
I didn't realize there's that many in the United States. It's awesome.
Earnhardt. That is true. Earnhardt brought a lot of people into the sport. I don't even know if you necessarily call it. I guess it is a sport. I mean, I think so, I guess. But that's true.
Hey, we have the Olympics, so I'm going to give a couple of races right now.
Is that true? Please tell me that's a joke. That's hilarious if that's true.
Yeah, I can imagine that. I love Global. Global's down in Australia too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so they drink those big beers.
I can't remember getting Homo's t-shirt. That's
thoughts
funny.
on Anthony Rendon long term in the hobby and being out with an injury hip. I feel bad for
I've
the
always
Angels,
thought he was underrated. I've always thought he was underrated. Always.
I was bummed
he was on the
left.
Nationals. He was on the Nationals doing damage every day. You could count on him, and he went to the Angels, and he should be like a 4-time All-Star. He's only been in 1 time because he doesn't promote himself because out of humbleness, which is good, but I don't know if that's really going to help him, you know, in the future for contract reasons and whatnot. But Rendon is super underrated. Angels not in a race, so no, yeah. Angels.
Which bums me out, man. I've become a fan of Ohtani. I have a good friend of mine. I'll just quickly mention Racken is another friend of mine. It's on my list to reach out to. I haven't reached out to him yet, but this is a guy that him and I got in. We were ripping Prism back in 2017. I'd go out. He's in California. He'd go out and get some. I'd go get some. We'd rip on each other's channels. We'd exchange stuff. I'd send him stuff to rip. He'd send me stuff to rip. He has daughters. I have sons. We got our kids into sports and stuff. And we had so much fun. In fact, that year we were chasing the mega boxes, and Racken put together the Shohei Ohtani. He had the orange to 25. He had the purple. I forget what that's, 250. He had the green to 99. He had them all. This is 2017. He sold them for $20,000. And at the time, everybody thought that was crazy. How would someone pay that much? That was crazy. Dude, that was a steal now. That was an absolute steal for what he sold those for.
Right. You know, Ziggy, let me ask you something. How did you get into the hobby? I've never actually heard about that.
Sure. So, again, I was in the hobby as a kid, right? And I'll say my experience was a short one. The prime time for me was 86. My brother and I spent the summer at the Boys and Girls Club in Bradenton, Florida. I remember we went to the Pirates spring training and met Bobby Bonilla and Barry Bonds. I remember getting autographs from him. And that really got me into it, right? 87 with those wooden backs.
You still have them?
Like I have a lot of them. I don't have any of the autographs. We sold all those, which I regret. But my brother and I, it's funny, we put our cards together, and then over the years, we would trade the cards back and forth with each other. Like I remember when I went to college, my brother gave me a couple $1,000s, and he took the cards. And then when he was in college and I was making money, I bought them back from him. So we kept that set, and it's kept it as a conversation piece. And I was talking, and so here's the truth. 5 or 6 years ago, I was talking to a friend of mine who's in gambling, right? We're gambling at a table and we're talking about sports cards. And he's updating me on what's going on. I'm like, really? You pay $750 for a National Treasures box? That's absolutely stupid. So he's telling me about this. And then I came home and my kids, they were into cards as well, but they were chasing like Prestige and, local stuff that you could find in the store. Hoops. Prism was really cool. Like they would trade Prism cards. They'd be, Dad, if you get Prism cards, those are really valuable. But here's what the kicker was for us was Excalibur. Excalibur, if you remember these cards, they to me were the first ones where they had a patch and an autograph. I remember opening those and going, what the hell is this? That blew my mind, right? That they had patches and autographs and numbers. Like I remember seeing parallels. Well, I'm like, why does this card not have a number on this one does? It opened my eyes. And then my sons just really dragged me deeper and deeper. We started getting into breaks. I'll say at the same time, I went through the separation. So my kids weren't living with me. So what we would do is we would buy into breaks, like their favorite teams, the Warriors, and at the time, the Thunder, because we liked Curry and Durant. So I would get online with my kids. We'd do breaks together. And that's what got me into the hobby. And from 2015 to 2017, 18, all we did was just collect, never sold anything. Then I went through the divorce and had to liquidate everything. So I'll tell you, I actually sold off my collection. Everything that I had that was really valuable was sold off during that time. And since then, my sons and I just we would chase retail. We'd buy a hobby box here and there. 2018 was the last year we actually bought a full case. We got a full case of Prism back in those days. I remember having a ton of Lucas before we knew Luca was great. My son still reminds me of pictures of our Luca Silvers and our Luca Base and our Pinks and our Ice and all the stuff we used to have. But that's what got us into the hobby was my kids got me back into it. So, and
that's awesome,
it's
man.
Funny because they're not as active today as they were. I'm definitely more into it. But I know, again, it's in their head. We talk about it. We talk sports. We talk about draft classes. My son, who loves basketball. So when the draft goes on, we'll talk about drafts and how that's going to affect, like which team's going to be expensive next year. So that's just what's kind of kept it going.
All right, everybody, put on your best behavior. My girlfriend's in the chat. All right, everybody on your best behavior.
No problem, man. And if you have to drop off, I don't want to. We're actually we're at an hour already. So I won't belabor and keep this going for too long. I will say, look, if anybody would like to join, I'm going to drop a link down there. You're welcome to come in. I'm going to quickly check the chat here. I got a little behind there.
Yeah. Any final questions? I mean, I'm not on a rush to get out of here. I love hanging out with Ziggy. It's always fun to talk to him. Actually, Ziggy, while we're here, let me ask you a question while I'm here, Ziggy.
Yep.
What happened with Card Ladder? But in a K through 12, PG-13 way, what happened? Because I missed a lot of this.
Look, I'll just put it this way. I was friends with Chris. Chris and I used to talk all the time. Chris and I'm friends with most people. Okay, I was friends with Jeff early on as well. When Jeff came into the hobby, I got active in his Facebook group. Chris and I would talk. I remember Chris being on his channel. I was super excited. And then I remember Chris talking about launching Card Ladder. And I'll tell you honestly, when I first talked to him, he told me it was going to be this encyclopedia. It wasn't a data tool. He's going to complement it. And I was like, well, I want to be a beta user. And on 623, I was the first person to use it. I'll say this. I became critical of what I saw him do with the tool and how he used it. And the things that turned me off to him was he would attack Jeff a lot. And I would defend Jeff a lot. And it made it look like I was on Jeff's side and he was on his side. And I'd say over the summer last year, I just asked too many questions, I think, in many ways. I didn't like the score that he gave. I didn't like the predictive algorithms. I said to him, I think this is kind of misleading. And I'll say that in the sense that I was looking at this through a father's eye. And I don't think there's a lot of stuff out there that I think is manipulating, right? They go, well, it's an extra data tool. Well, it is. But if you don't know what it is, it can be manipulating. So I kind of was like a watchdog of it. I didn't like some of the stuff. Chris and I used to talk all the time. But I feel like he betrayed my trust. And a couple times, he sent a little spy in on the Facebook group and then, said some bad stuff about me. I know he was disparaging me to other YouTube channels. It just escalated over the fall. I think the key point was in December when he was on Jeremy's show and, made kind of an indirect threat. I've always, like I said, my big issue, what I'd say to Chris and I is, look, Chris, why did you do this stuff, right? Why did you say the things you did about me, right? Why did you tell everybody that I'm like, for example, he would run around and tell people I work for market movers and I'm just an angry market movers person. And I'm like, dude, I don't care about market movers. In fact, that's one of my things. I don't want to be tied down to any one. I don't want to sponsor because I don't want to be responsible for that sponsor. And I don't want the sponsor to be responsible for me. right? So it just escalated. I mean, it really just got ugly. And again, when I look at it, it's stupid where we are. Now, I've been critical because I think his tool can be used, right? I don't like the fact that his differentiator in the market, like, in fact, I talked about this last year with him. Give it away for free is what I recommended. He wanted to tell people that he was vetting his data, so his data was better than other people. And I personally said, I think that's foolish because you're not going to be able to scale if you're really vetting all data. Why don't you know? And no one, and like we talked about earlier, when we do comps, no one's vetting the eBay comp and going, hey, did it really go through? No, we look at eBay and that's the comp. So I felt like he was trying to use an interesting added value that was unnecessary at the time. And I still question, I even said today, they don't put all the data in there. They do pick the tools they want to. I also think it's interesting they talked about we had auction data. Great. You and I don't give a shit about auction data, right?
Right.
It's just nice to say that, but anybody could pull in auction data. I've always stressed them, if you want to do something, pull in Facebook data, right? Pull in data from Facebook groups where you see what real transactions are going for, right? Because what I know is if a card's selling on eBay for $800, it's selling in Facebook groups for probably $750, and it's probably selling 7, 8, 9 times, right? So it just was it was a difference of opinion that became personal attacks from him to me, and I've been vocal about what I see from him, and it's gotten bigger on that. I'll say it's gotten bigger. It's probably it's stupid in some ways, but at the same time. Like I said earlier in the beginning of this show, what I know is that Chris only goes in certain channels. He only goes in friendly environments, right? Because he doesn't want to be asked those questions, right?
Yeah.
Like, for example, he used to make fun of Boris last year from Hobby Box, and then he's given Boris the card ladder for free, and he's on Boris's channel. I was like, really, Chris? So I don't know. It is what it is. I don't want to go too much into detail. And
right.
You know,
my only advice, my advice from one friend to the next is just don't let it get too deep. You know, don't let it get too deep. If it gets too deep, that's when it's time to be the man and pull out of it. I've been in that situation of high school and college drama. I'm not in the middle of it right now, but there's always that every year, and we've all been through it. Just kind of avoid it if you can. If it's something that's personal and somebody comes after you, of course, defend your honor and all that. But don't ever let it get to the point where you're threatening to actually go find that person or something, because then you got law issues. And
again, I have, and I'll say this too. I will continue. So where I feel like it right now is I like to be a voice in his ear. I want him to know that that if he does trip up, I'm going to be the first one to pounce on him, and he knows that. And I think that's actually a good place to be. The comment here, Criminal Mind, I don't feel like I poop on people all the time. In fact, the only person I feel like I'm pooping on right now is Josh and Chris. And the other thing that really irks me about them, they, for example, love to insult people, right? They love to attack Jeff Wilson for his top 5 picks. They pick on the Sports Card Invest guy, which I'm not a fan of either, who does his little Patreon channel and stuff, right? But Chris and Josh still have an active how-to collect class and a newsletter that they sell their own picks in. And that to me is the definition of hypocrisy, right? And what's funny is they don't talk about it, promote it, but they don't get rid of it either, right? So if it wasn't valuable to them, they would turn it off. They could easily shut me up by saying, hey, Ziggy, you keep making it up, but that site's gone now. But it's still there. And it's still there because it still is like a fly trap to trap new people in the hobby who will pay to get Josh's book and will pay to get Josh's letter. And that irks me. So own it. I keep saying, if you're going to do it, guys, own it. Don't sit there throwing rocks at other people if you're doing the exact same thing. And I'll go back to the Dr. Beckett dinner. When Dr. Beckett had his collaboration in Dallas and he brought these content creators in to talk about the responsibility of the hobby, I applaud Jeff for making comments that he was aware of how he was an influence and he's made changes. Chris and Josh sat there quietly and didn't say peep because, again, they're still making money off the how to collect and their newsletter, right? And I
actually met Jeff Wilson. I actually met Jeff Wilson at the National.
And Jeff's not a bad person. Yeah,
no, he's a very nice guy.
And again, his thing is he's a businessman. Okay, he's a businessman. He's here to sell a software product. And some people are gonna like that. Some people don't. Like, one thing I don't like about him,
and he actually does love cards too. That's my thing. Yeah, he's making a buck, but he actually collects too, guys. Like if you look at his videos, he's got like the 86 player autograph set, which is super cool. It's got the Jordans and stuff. He's a really nice guy. Like, he wants the hobby to grow at the end of the day. Yes, he wants to make a couple bucks, but he wants the hobby to grow, and he wants to get kids in.
And he wants it to grow safely, right? He even makes that comment that he wants education. He wants people to stay. He doesn't want them to come in and get burned and leave. And I applaud him for that. And again, I'll be critical. If I see Jeff do, and I've said this to other people who said to me, oh, we don't like Jeff. Well, great. As soon as Jeff trips up, let me know, because I'll be the first to call him out. And I'll even say this too. I know him that I could call Jeff and say, Jeff, what happened there? Why are you doing this? Right. And I believe he would listen to me. I know he listened to me when I was building the Facebook group out with him. When he said, hey, what should I do in Facebook? I was the one who said, let's not make this into a buy and sell place. Let's make this into education. We set up rules like you could promote your own business. You could talk about your investment ideas. It was meant to be a constructive, happy place. Now, I've heard things have changed. I'm not in the group anymore. I think I'm a member, but I'm definitely not active in the group. But, I don't know. My goal is, criminal mind. If I am pooping on somebody, I don't mean to do that. Please correct me.
And
okay?
Ziggy, let me chime this in real quick. I've been friends with Ziggy for about a year now. He's never crapped on me. Not one time. He's asked my opinion on some certain things, and I'm sure we've disagreed. It's America, people. We disagree. Yeah. You don't. That's something that I've hated. I'm not going to get into politics, but I'm going to compare this right now to sports cards. You could be a Republican or a Democrat in 2005 through 2010, and no one would really care. They just shrug their shoulders and be like, okay, that's your opinion. Nowadays, you can't be friends. Yeah. Why is that? And it's kind of, I'm seeing it in cards. Well, I got an opinion that this is better and this is better. Okay,
that's why I think you can't. Steve said it really well today. We have a lot more in common. We can disagree. We don't have the same religions. We might not like the same politics, and sometimes we let these things get a hand. And that's why I'll tell you too. I've had little tiffs with other people. I got in a little argument with a guy named Jordan on sports card analytics. We have since become friends. I've reached out to him. I've spoken to him as a person. We've did a collaboration together. I had a little beef with Boris last year, and I'll tell you the beef with Boris was my son was a huge Boris fan. He bought into the Patreon channel, which I didn't want him to do, but I let my son do it to learn. He was upset because he didn't get what he wanted out of the Patreon channel, and I felt like Boris, he kind of broke my son's little heart in a way. But Boris and I have talked, right? Boris has adjusted and changed, and he's not even active anymore. But my point is, if I have a beef, I believe we can talk. And we should be able to find a resolution in it.
I absolutely agree. That's something we see eye to eye on. Kevin said here that sports card drama is hilarious and ridiculous. I agree on the hilarity and ridiculousness. I think that it should be squashed. But as you can see here, and something that I applaud Ziggy for, is he's actually trying to get out of it. He would rather squash it and at the very least just have you two walk away. And while it makes for some funny content, let's be honest here.
Well, again, I also believe I don't like hypocrites. And when you say you're transparent, but you're hiding what you do on the other business, when you say you don't like people giving picks and recommending cards, but you're selling a newsletter, I just think that's crazy. And I will say, I can't tell you, people have sent me a message and go, man, I didn't know card letter guys are doing that. Right. And they don't realize it. When they see that, it's an aha moment. Go, wow, I didn't realize that. And again, I don't care if you want to do a newsletter or teach a class. That's fine. Be upfront about it. Own it. Right. That's fine. I'm cool with that. So I'm going off topic here. And I don't want to get too heated. Anyway, guys,
I like what you're thinking. I haven't been in too much drama in the sports card world. There's been a couple times where I'm like, all right, man, I'm just going to go my separate way from you. But I've never really gotten into it, and I never want to.
The one thing I will say, though, okay, I know I have a lot of friends who say, Ziggy, you got to walk away from the drama, turn away from the negative, ignore the negative. And I hear that all the time, right? Gary V, tune out the haters. That's makes sense some of the time. But sometimes, guys, when you're walking by and there's a crime on the street, you either stop the crime or you take notes and you participate in correcting the problem. We can't always turn the other cheek. So that's just the person I am. There are going to be times where, again, I'm not going to let it ruin my day. But if I see something, I'm going to say something and I'm going to bring some attention to it. And you know what? If I'm wrong, I want to be corrected. But that's just my personality. It's maybe my
I stand corrected. Not on YouTube, but in person, I've had a little bit of drama with it was actually a promoter for a certain show. He spread some lies, and I'm just gonna leave it at that. But I let it go. I actually went to talk to him in person at the next show that went on, and he basically wouldn't even give me the time of day when I tried to talk to him man to man. This is a 50-plus-year-old man, let me tell you. I went to talk to him in person. He wouldn't talk to me back. I let it go. He did some very messed up things that I'm not going to get into, trying to get me fired from my job, and then my boss finding out what a wacko he is and stuff like that. So sometimes in life you have to deal with that drama. It'll find you even if you don't go looking for it. But it's okay to stand up for yourself. I've been through that in life. We all have it. Everybody in their life. And I heard this quote recently. I don't know if my girlfriend said it or who said it. Everyone in life has at least been bullied one time, even if it was just one moment or whatever.
Yeah.
And you got to learn from that and either learn to stand up for yourself, to walk away, or when it's not okay to walk away, So just in those situations, I mean, I think we should change the topic a little bit here and make it a little more of a fun time and not such a.
Well, I will do this. Let me do a quick plug. I definitely, guys, if you're watching, please check out Chase's channel. Give this young man some support. Also, I'm going to quickly put a plug in there for Collectible Kings. I'm a huge fan of what PJ's doing.
You're over there. For those of you out there.
He runs a great – this guy, what I like about PJ is he got into this business with his sons and opened a shop. And I think he even knows he's crazy because he's probably losing money. I don't know, because he just has great prices.
Can't say anything. I can't say anything. He's the king, though. He's the king.
He focuses on the kids in the community. He's doing an event. When's the event end of the month with a WW? What's it? They're having a wrestler in?
On July 31st, we had UFC Rising Star Bryce Mitchell, number 14 featherweight.
Yeah.
Came in. I was at the National for it. I decided to do the National.
Is there somebody coming in August, though?
Their event. What was that?
Is there somebody?
I think we'll do a trade night or something like that. When I get more information on events, I'm sure I'll pass it over to Ziggy and any of you Virginia people. I'm sure he'll reach out to you guys and we can have a little meet up and a little trade night fun. Maybe crack a beer, have some fun.
Absolutely, guys.
I'd love to do that.
Absolutely, guys.
Yeah.
Hey, Chase, really, really, man, thank you for being here tonight. Let's do this again. Again, I do these on Sunday nights, but you're welcome anytime. We can also set up another live during the week. I'd love to join your channel. Again, I'd love to help anybody out there in Collectible Kings.
Absolutely.
To everybody in the audience, guys, thank you very, very much for being here tonight. Keep me honest. Keep me real. Call me out. I appreciate it. But please don't block me so I can chat. And have a great day, guys. Treat people the way you want to be treated, right? Nurture those relationships. Those are the most important things, man. They really are. They're going to last a lifetime. Everything else comes and goes. Love you all, guys. Really mean it. Thank you very much, Chase. Really appreciate you being here.
Thanks so much. You have a great night.
Have a great night, guys. I'm going to end this. I think I'm just going to kill the broadcast. Right.